Welcome back to the Nige-Rider garage, and if my voice holds up, as it seems to be disappearing, I'm hoping in this episode we're going to talk about aluminium. Alright guys, as I said, if my voice holds up, we shall hopefully be talking about aluminium today. But don't forget, before we start, if you like my videos, give them a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on your notifications to notify you of when the next video comes out. So, my bike, and I think pretty much majority of bikes nowadays, are between like 80 and 100% aluminium. The reason for that is aluminium is an amazing metal in all sense and purposes. One, it doesn't rot or rust. It does corrode, yeah, give it that. It does have something called an oxidization, but that leaves a coating, which is basically what's happened to my engine. It's got a coating of oxidization over it, which does actually protect it as well. But it's very, very strong as well, and not only is it strong, it's incredibly lightweight, and you can do a lot of things with it. But it does come with its own problems. And that one is the fact is that it is still a soft metal. Although it's very strong, very sturdy, and can take a considerable amount of force, it is still incredibly soft. And when I mean soft, it's easily marked. So when you're dealing with aluminium parts, now these bits obviously came off the back of my bike, and if you saw the video where I was aquablasting stuff, I aquablasted this. The reason why I aquablasted it was because this is the brake caliper carrier, and if you can see around here, I'm not sure if you can see that, there are loads of indentations. That's actually not from the sandblasting, that was from stone chip. That's stone chip that's done that, and you can pretty much see what's left of it around here, and that's literally as stones have been hitting this from the road, it's left an indentation and it's left a mark. Now obviously you can paint aluminium, or the beautiful thing about aluminium is you can just leave as it is. The only problem is that, as I says, you do get that oxidization on it. With a little bit of care, you can do an amazing amount of stuff with aluminium parts, and it all boils down to how much patience you actually have with what you're doing as to what you can actually do with those parts. Now obviously, as you can see here, this is my sprocket carrier, which is in a bit of a rough state, as you can see. Not only is it painted, but you can also see cast marks. So this has been cast in sand, so that's basically a sand mold, and it's left these marks on it. And as you can see here, I've been nicely sanding away to get rid of them, and it's not the easiest thing in the world, for the simple reason is when you're sanding down aluminium, they tend to block up the actual sandpaper with these little aluminium shards. You know, that's basically silica, and it stops it from working. Now there's a couple of ways you can get around this. You can use wet and dry. You can use something like a flap wheel, which I've got here, but again, you've got a flat wheel which goes into a drill and can help sand down. But one thing I find is you've got to be careful, because if you use too coarser grit sandpaper, should I say, you will leave considerable amounts of scratch marks, and it will take a long time to get those scratch marks out. It's okay if you're painting it, because the simple reason is obviously the primer will fill in where the spaces are, but if you're going to do something else like polishing it, and that's the beautiful thing about aluminium, is that it doesn't actually need to be painted, because you can actually end up with a beautiful polished effect like this. And this is just literally pure aluminium that I've spent ages sanding down and shaping in order to get it to a position where it can be polished. Now as you can see, these are obviously these have been on the bike for years. The bike's 17 years old, so you can actually see the imperfections in there, probably because the fact is that as I've said, they've been hit by stones and stuff as you've gone along, and I think if you look closely you may see some very deep scratches that are still within the aluminium, because the fact is that they're actually deeper than what I wanted to be, and I can't polish them out. So and I didn't really want to actually sand this down anymore. This is the suspension and shock absorber mounting. So this mounts the shock absorber to the swing arm and to the engine, because it also mounts to the centre stand mount. That's the word I'm looking for. And obviously this is my carrier, this is where my foot peg goes, and that actually bolts onto the side of the bike. But the thing is though, it gives you a very nice effect. Now what you find is that a lot of places on a motorcycle, they just tend to powder coat them, and sometimes the powder coat doesn't last very long. So if you've got some time and some patience, you can actually produce a very, very nice effect, and a very, very nice chromed look effect. As you can see, this is the tie bar for the rear caliper, which but it actually bolts on to this to keep it in place so it doesn't swing about. So that's what that is. So how do we go about doing this? Well, there's a variety of ways, as I said, you can go about doing it. You can use a sander, you can use a flat wheel. I've got something set up in a drill, which I will show you on another video when I show you what I'm going to do, because I'm going to go through actually turning something like this into something like this. And as I say, it is a very lengthy process and it can take some time to do. But it's a very nice process, and it gives a very nice effect at the end of the day, and it looks really, really good. Now I've been sanding this down for a while and I'm still suffering with little pit marks and stuff. It may be a case of that I'm going to have to live with that. It may be a case on the back of here that I might have to paint the back because of how bad it is. But what I am using is I'm using a rotary tool like this. I have a flexible extendy thing like this, and on the end I have this wonderful pad, which is a little sanding buffing pad, which is really quite good, and just basically it works obviously the same as an orbital sander. Now obviously with small pieces like this is great. If you're doing something really large, you can use an orbital sander, your power sander, multi-tool sander, whatever you want. What I would recommend is stay away from grinding. Don't grind it beforehand, because you're at the risk of leaving some very deep gouges in, and you don't want to be spending a lot of time trying to get those scratches out. I have found when I'm using this and when I'm using the flat wheel, this is 100 grit that I start off on here. So it's basically, which is really quite coarse actually. So the lower the number with sandpaper, the actual coarser it is. So obviously 40 grit is coarser than 100 grit. Never use 40 grit. Never start on with 40 grit. If I was doing it by hand, then I would be picking a 240 emery paper, which is basically what I have over here. So that's a 240 emery paper. And then what I tend to do is with things like that, if I'm doing it by hand, I lubricate it with something like WD-40, because then it helps get rid of all the actual aluminium fibres and that gets stuck inside the sandpaper, as you can see. And I'm just going to, it's going to get a bit noisy, so I'm just going to put this on and I'm just going to give this a buzz so you can actually see what happens. So you can see I've already spent some time doing this bit around here, like so. So I'm actually hitting this with some 100 grit to start off with, and then what I'll do is once I've got it all down and nice and smooth and got these, it's basically the sand cast and the paint off. So this, you can see the paint and the sand cast. So as I go over, you'll see the paint come off, and then you'll see marks, which is the sand casting. Once I've done that and got inside these bits here, so I'll have to use a different sander for those in there, I will then hit it with some, this I say this is 100 grit, I'll hit it with some 240, so I'll probably hit it by hand with a 240 emery. Then I'll go up to 320 wet and dry, so at which time I will take out the bearing carrier as it's there, because it's still got the dust sealing, which I want to keep on, but I'll take those out. And then from the 320 I will move up to 400, 600, 800, 1200, 3200, and I think I do have some 5000, which I'd probably use is some 5000. Now obviously when you're sanding down aluminium, one thing you do need to be careful for is the as you can see, the what's called the silica, the dust. It's not very nice. You don't want to breathe it in. So obviously the other thing is, well, you don't want to get it on your hands, so wear some gloves, and don't forget to wear a very good mask while you're doing this. I apologise, it's going to get a little bit noisy. Might sound like we're at the dentist. And I'm just going to give you this is, I got this by the way from Amazon, and it's pretty cool actually. It just kind of fits onto here quite nicely and holds. You have to make sure this is in the camera, you have to make sure that this is well and truly on here, and you really want to start I turn it down, start at about 1 a speed of 1 on my thing, and as you go, as you see, it does a very nice job, and then you speed it up, of so as you can see, I've taken off the paint, and then like you can see the difference between there and there with the little dimples, and I say that's because that's the sand, that's the actual casting marks. That's been in from manufacturer, and I say this has been painted, which has protected the surface. This wasn't, this, believe it or not, wasn't actually painted, hence the reason why it's been pelted with so many stones over the past God knows how long. And the same, actually, strangely enough, with these weren't painted either. These were just left bare, and that's the thing with aluminium, is you can leave them bare, but then obviously you do get this kind of marking, and it's a permanent marking. There's nothing you can do about it unless I was to take this down to an engineering firm and see if they could actually skim it to see if that would make a difference. But obviously I don't really want to lose too much of the thickness, because obviously it is a specific thickness for a specific reason, and that goes the same with this. Obviously I don't want to do that. So there we go. So before my voice completely disappears, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. Join me in the next video, where I am actually going to take some aluminium pieces, and I'm going to take them from this kind of condition right the way through to this, and I'll show you what I use to seal, because that's the key thing, is that once you've got it to this condition, you need to seal it. Once it's sealed and it's polished, then it's the polish is going to protect it, and if there's anything that hits it, it's likely to be the polish that's going to get damaged as opposed to the metal, and it will stop any rain, any oxidization from the rain, or any damage in that way. So thank you very much for watching. I apologise about my voice, it is a bit rough, and I will catch you the next time in the next video. Cheerio, arrivederci, and goodbye for now.